So yeah, John, would you mind just telling us a little introduction about yourself, your brief elevator pitch?
Yeah, sure. So I'm John Orcutt. I'm a software engineer who's been working in kind of the weather and more meteorological side of things for the past 7, 8 years now. And yeah, it's been looking to move more into the climate side of the atmospheric sphere and really, kind of work to make an impact there.
Perfect. Thank you. That was great. So yeah, then Brendan, I think, was going to ask a little bit more about your experience working with climate people.
Okay.
Yeah. So, John, again, I know we've talked about this before, right? Like part of our mission and journey of Climate People is to try to mobilize a workforce transition to get software engineers and data folks and product and user experience and product designer folks to transition their career to climate. You're kind of there, right? Like this isn't like this massive transition for you. Can you just talk maybe a little bit about your journey? Like why even getting into the weather side of it and the atmospheric side of it, and then now going more towards climate tech and looking at risk. And obviously we'll talk about the work that you're doing in a minute, but like, why did you think that was important for you? And what really spurred you to make this transition?
Yeah, sure. So, the weather side's really interesting, right? It's really like real time impacts, things that you could feel immediately, but it's always, really localized. One of the things about climate change is that this impacts everybody, right? I mean, this is a global event. All of humanity will be impacted by the, negative consequences of climate change. And so that's really why, and weather's, it's a pretty big field. There's lots of people focusing on it. There's lots of industry around it and supporting it. Whereas climate, it feels like it's more, there's less people focusing on it. And it feels like more and more that's going to have to be a kind of a private sector solution, at least in the United States, to kind of solving climate change.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, definitely. So then how was your experience working with climate people? Had you ever heard of a climate tech recruitment agency or anything like that? Was it something that you were expecting? Yeah, just touch on like a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I hadn't actually seen any recruitment agencies that were, purely climate tech focused. So then when I came across climate people, it was really exciting. And then working with climate people has been really great, really communicative. Tons of companies were brought, forward to me and unearthed to me that I had never heard of, doing all kinds of really, really interesting things and impactful things within the climate sphere.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, so would you mind telling me a little bit more about the company that you're going to be working for, or the role that you took, how that relates to your background, all of that?
Yeah, so I'll be working with Sust Global. They're a small startup working kind of climate risk data for financial markets and insurance markets, right? So you kind of the risk of what an asset might experience due to climate change is kind of what they're focusing on, and that has the power to kind of change the way financial markets are running and working. So it's really interesting there. And the position is like a senior data engineer position, working a lot with the machine learning modelers that are doing the actual modeling and calculating the risk, providing them with data and building them a platform to run their models. And that's kind of in line with what I've been doing in the past, except with more climate focused models and not weather focused models.
Awesome.
That's great. So coming around to the 1% for Planet partnership that we have, obviously, when we started this organization, one of our goals was to get people working on climate. Another one of our goals was to try to amplify some environmental nonprofits that were doing great work and, more exposure, more money, right? And so we're donating, obviously, a portion of every one of the placement fees to one of four environmental nonprofits. Obviously, that's going to be based off of your choice, right? So we'll make that donation in your name. So you've had a chance to take a look at that. Like, who'd you pick?
Yeah, so I'm going to pick the Indigenous Environmental Network. They seem to be doing lots of work, kind of protecting and keeping politicians to uphold promises that have been made to some of the Indigenous people in this country. And yeah.
Yeah, awesome. That's a great timing for that one too. So good choice. Yeah, they're an incredible organization. Just the breadth of their resources and everything they're doing is truly incredible. So yeah, good choice. That's the exciting part too.
Awesome.
Perfect. So yeah, thank you so much, John. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on, or did we kind of cover it all?
I think we covered it all. Yeah.